Hey guys, subscribe for daily content, and if you're shopping for gear, make sure you check out the description for the newest items at some of the very best online retailers. There's also links for some of the items that I personally recommend. Thanks! What's going on YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I've got another interesting knife review / knife overview to share with you guys. This is the Off-Grid Knives Baby Rhino, which is little brother, of course, to the Rhino. I think a very popular knife through Off-Grid Knives. Another nice little treat here is that this knife is being offered in 14C28N steel, which is probably the best budget knife steel available. I'll let you guys, read up on Larry and Thomas's article about the very best budget steel, knife steel nerds is who you want to Google. This is available. I will link this right down in the description so you guys can check it out if you'd like. Thanks so much to Off-Grid Knives for sending this in for me to take a look at. Thanks to my generous patrons who are supporting me. There's a link for Patreon right down below. And please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. Okay, let's go ahead and measure it. There's my tape. This is a little, it's a chunky boy, which makes sense that they call it the Rhino, right? But this is the baby Rhino. The thing is just perfectly named. Overall length of the baby Rhino coming in at not even 6 inches. 5.75 inches overall. Blade length is coming in well under 3 inches, actually about 2.5 inches. Then your cutting edge is coming in at 2.25. So, those of you working with weird blade laws, this might work for you. Let's go ahead and do just a couple of size comparisons up against the Ontario Rat Model 1 and the Ontario Rat Model 2. So yeah, you can see there. It's quite a bit more stout. It's quite a bit, but it's definitely a lot shorter. Just a couple more. How about up against the Spyderco Para 3? There you go. Should point out here. Versus the Para 3, it's relatively, not quite the same, but relatively similar in cutting edge. And then up against the Benchmade Bug Out here. And there you go. Little knife. Thick little, chunky little knife. How about carry profile? Thickness up against the Spyderco Para 3. It's thicker. Not insanely, that much thicker, but you're going to notice it a little bit for it being so small. The fact that it is so small is going to mitigate that. If it were like a lot bigger, obviously it would feel a lot. That goes without saying. Length and height up against the PM2 and Para 3. Shorter than both. And then even including the flipper tab, it's not quite as tall. Sorry, let's get an accurate. There we go. Not quite as tall. So you're only going to notice the thickness there. Let's do a measurement of blade stock thickness. I don't think the blade stock is all that thick. I'm going to guess that's about 120 thousandths. Yeah, okay, 125,000. So we're looking at Ritter Hogue thickness. Fine. Let's do a hardware check. Get out my tools as per usual. My tools are very inexpensive and very recommendable. You can find them right down in the section of my description that talks about my tools. I think these are all T8 now, which is just great. Yeah, these are all T8. We have 3 on each side, but I'd rather have 3 T8 screws on each side than 2 T6 screws. So, got a few extra pieces of hardware there. Not really that big of a deal. Are the freaking pocket clip screws also T8? Oh, I got excited there for a second. No, the pocket clip screws are going to be T6, but these other screws are all T8. That's fine. Either way, make sure you have quality tools, like the ones in my description, and you should be okay. Wait, what are we looking at for materials? Well, we're looking at G10. I like this color. It's like Rhino colored G10. And then we have the steel liners, which have been, in this case, coated, same as the blade. Blade coating's real nice. And then the blade, which is 14C28N. So steel, G10, and steel. That's what I'm trying to say. Oh my gosh, that's so heavy for such a small... It's still a 3.32 ounce object, which... it's like we can do ratios all day. This is a message I try to send out to people. It's like, don't get so obsessed with ratios. Like, if it doesn't work for you, then it doesn't work for you. But at the end of the day, it's still a small 3.32 ounce object. So even though the ratios, like the whole, ounce and inch thing, blade to handle, overall blade to weight ratio, it's not all perfect, right? In my book, it's still 0.3 ounces from what I consider to be ultra lightweight anyway. And it's well under the base for what I normally like to carry. So I'm not bothered by it. Do with that information what you will. Okay, I think we've gotten through everything. Let's go ahead and talk about this. So where are these made? So I keep screwing up where off-grid knives are made. It says right on their website. I should have just read the website. There was I think there was a brief time in history where their more premium stuff was being made by We, and I keep saying that. Their Rhinos and a few of the other somewhat less expensive models, alongside their more premium stuff like the Scorpion, those are all made by Bestech. They also have another OEM out of Taiwan. I don't know who that is, but that's it. So this guy is being made by Bestech, and it feels like a Bestech. And that's a good thing, because Bestech is a very high-quality OEM. The ergonomics on this guy are limited because it is a small knife. It's not like they were, it's like I always say, it's not like they were trying to make a big knife and they were like, oops, we accidentally made a small knife. No, they're trying to make, this was intentional, right? So, yeah, you can only get 3 fingers on it. Personally, when I carry a pocket knife, I don't like to carry something that's, only 3 fingers. But it's also, like I've said in many other reviews, there's something kind of fun about a little chunky little tank of a knife. If I am going to carry a smaller knife, just maybe not because I think like, oh, it's more durable, I can do more with it. No, it's just kind of the novelty of it. I kind of like carrying little chunky knives like this. So yeah, it's not bad. I mean, where you do lock in for 3 fingers is fine. The pocket clip is short enough and it's flat on top, so it's not really digging into your hands all that much. It's not the most comfortable thing in the world, but I've definitely handled knives that are far less comfortable. So, it's okay. Ergonomics, B-, whatever that means. The edges here are nicely chamfered and there's nice texturing. It's basically it's a shrunk down Rhino, a shrunk down Rhino, if you've ever handled that knife or if you've watched the review and you can get an idea from the visuals. I think probably my favorite part of this is the color contrast. We have this grayish green, sort of rhino skin colored G10, and then we have this gray, what I'm guessing is a DLC coating on the blade, all of the liners and everything like that. The pocket clip, by the way, the liners are, no, that's on this side. There's a little bit of milling done on the liners there. So yeah, action, I mean, it's not anything spectacular. The blade is pretty darn short. It feels like a Bestech, right? The flipper tab, nice rounded off flipper tab. There's plenty detent strength for it to flip, right? There's a nice crack of the detent, and the breakaway. The detent strength is good for the amount of blade and the amount of leverage that you get. It's plenty there, right? Don't expect it to fall shut or anything like that. You can, people always ask me how to improve action. You can improve action by buying, and this is in my Amazon store. It's always been there. It's the 10-weight Nano Oil. You can buy this stuff. You can take a single tiny drop and apply it to the detent ball, which you can see sticking up right there. I'll just do it on camera for you. You can just apply a teeny tiny little bit. Usually it'll kind of be leaking out of the end. And then you just kind of open and close the knife a few times, and it should dramatically improve the action. And it depends on the knife. It depends on what it is. But the 10-weight Nano Oil is the stuff that I swear by it's actually already doing it. It actually legitimately already feels better. But if you're, I'm not talking about just this knife. Just to take a quick break in the review, whatever your knife is, right? If it has, the parts that sort of rub against each other, you can reduce the amount of felt friction with that 10-weight Nano Oil, and it works really, really well. Make sure you don't get any on the lock bar or the surfaces that are responsible. I know even if it's got lock stick, a lot of people think, oh, I'll just lube up the lock bar. Don't do that, because that's the part of the knife that's responsible for locking it out, right? But yeah, the 10-weight Nano Oil, in fact, literally, it actually worked right there on camera. So there you go. Anyways, the Rhino blade, it looks like a rhino's face. And yeah, it'll work pretty well. It actually does get relatively thin down here. And you've got plenty of material carried out to the tip, so it should be reasonably robust. 14C28N is very tough, considering the balance that is its composition. Nice fine grain structure. This is a Sandvik steel. Good edge retention, especially considering the price point. Very easy to sharpen, like super easy to sharpen. Really good balance. It's one of the most balanced steels in existence, which makes it really great and very preferable, especially for, you know, a budget knife that you're going to kind of throw around. This is very nearly a budget knife, so I'm just using that term loosely. But yeah, I love the coating on the blade. I think that just looks spectacular. The whole blade is just nice, right? Whether you're back here, you want to use this jimping area up here. It's kind of an interesting way that they do the jimping, but it all looks nice. Seating of the hardware, nice. I mean, this is typical Bestech fit and finish, so I don't have an issue with any of it. You can mount the clip for left-handed carry over here, and it does have a slot milled into the G10. A lot of people think that these slots are kind of eyesores. I don't care. I'd rather left-handed people have the option, right? It's like some companies are like, well, we didn't do that. We totally threw all left-handed people under the bus because it looks kind of ugly. Left-handed people are like, what? Like, we want to carry it. It's like, so that's nice that they did that, right? It's nice that we have that option. So I appreciate that that's there. I'm right-handed, but I'd be frustrated as a left-handed person if they're just like, nah. So anyways, there's a backspacer. It is the same color as the G10. That's fine. There's no lanyard hole. Oh no, I have to count off for that. I don't care. Pocket clip is all right. I'm not the biggest fan of these where they go straight and then they swoop and then they go straight. I like continuous upward ramps because then you might have to fight it a little bit. It's almost like bending down a little bit. You might have to fight it a little bit depending on, how thick the seam is on your pockets, but okay. Little bit, you're gonna have to fight a little texturing in and out of the pants there, so it might fray up a little bit over time. I think that spot under the clip should be smoothed down, but that's okay that it's not that big of a deal. The stop pin is located back here, and there is some shouldering. I'm starting to see that now more often, or maybe I'm just now starting to notice it. Shouldering both in the closed and open position, which should mitigate wear just a little bit over time. Nice, man, that Nano Oil did wonders. Like just in the time that I've been doing the review. But a lot of people are like, this dude has a deal with Nano Oil. This dude, shadow sponsored by Nano Oil. No, they don't know who I am. It's legitimately, where'd I get it? I got the idea from Nick. Nick Shabazz has been pushing Nano Oil for at least a few years. And I remember thinking, I should buy some of that stuff. And I did. And this was like the channel was like over a year old. And I was like, wow, this works. So I just put it in my little, the little Amazon place that I've got down there for people who want to know what type of gear and stuff that I use on this channel on my knives, tools and stuff. So yeah, it works really, really well. Anyways, the lockup, absolutely, completely and totally solid. We have, it's locking up at like 40%. No blade play up, down, left to right. No pivot lash and a nice click down there. No detent lash. Very good. How's the centering? I think I saw it. Yeah, the centering it's slightly favoring this side, which is not super common. I think it's probably from me messing with it. Let me give it a quick turn and see if I can correct it. If not, I've done the centering trick multiple times on camera. It's never a big deal to center a blade. I wonder if we can almost... it's still ever so slight. So the trick is, it's really easy to correct this. Unscrew all the screws on the side where the pivot adjustment is. Just don't pull them all the way out, just unscrew them a little bit. Then just take a piece of paper and wedge the blade away from where, like if it's leaning this way, you'd wedge the paper on this side to push it that way. Then you tighten down the pivot all the way. Then you tighten down the body screws. Then you pull the piece of paper out. It should be way off centered the other direction. And then you slightly unscrew the pivot to get the action back to normal. And the blade will come back to center and everything will be rainbows. That's all you have to do. Not that big of a deal if the blade's off centered for one reason or another. Okay, so what's the price? The price is $80. Now, this is doing a lot of stuff that's very similar to the budget knife world. We have a few extra nice little things. Number one, Bestech's manufacturing quality is extremely good, and it has come, like, it was good 4 years ago, but it's way, way better now. We've got the coated liners, we've got the coated blade, and it's an actual coating, not paint. We have 14C28N steel. But the knife is so small. It's so small, how can it possibly be worth? Because small knives, right? Because, yeah, people do that. They don't really think. Because what your brain is telling you, while you didn't think about it, is because it's small, they can't charge a lot of money for it. Because all small objects are less expensive than all big objects, which is dumb, right? Now I got people offended. Well, actually, type me up a book. Go ahead, type me up a book. Listen, it might not work for you. Is ultimately that's the end of your long paragraph that I'm not going to read. It might not work for you. But it doesn't mean that it doesn't necessarily that it doesn't cost them, more money to make, even just because it's a small object. Maybe versus the larger one, sure, okay, it's the same exact thing with slightly more material, right? But I've definitely handled knives that are built in a way less expensive fashion, and they're bigger than this. That doesn't mean that they're worth more money. It just depends on what you are going to, whether or not it's valuable to you, depends on what you are going to use it for and what your preferences are. Somebody who has preferences or needs in some situations for a smaller knife, and then they just like the quality that's brought to the table by Bestech, then yeah, this is gonna fit in their wheelhouse, right? That being said, I do still think the price is a bit high. $80 is a bit high considering its competition, right? Considering where this is made, what it is made out of, how it is made, and other knives in those specific parameters, right? Not because it's small, just within those parameters, right? It's got some decent competition. So $80 feels a bit high. I think I could see like 65, maybe 70 here. It definitely is. It definitely feels like we're getting more than what we get typically from Civivi's lower end or CJRB's lower end, right? It's not quite down there in the $40 to $50 range. I definitely appreciate the steel. That's a huge bonus, right? But again, we don't automatically, value doesn't come from materials alone. I'm going to do my best to beat that out of as many minds as possible over the life of this channel. Value is not in materials alone. And while we are just looking at G10 and steel and 14C28N, the overall amount of polishing, finishing, things like that, I mean, there's just a little bit more here. So, yeah, it is a small knife. I think I could see $65 or so. But $80 just feels a bit high. In any case, it's still going to be linked on there for those of you who want to tell me to kick rocks. You do what you want to do. If you like how this looks and you don't mind the $8 price tag, you're going to be happy with it because it's well made. Bestech makes a good knife. This is, if you're looking for a little, chunky knife with this look and these materials and you like 14C28N, you're probably going to like this. For everybody else, especially if you're looking for best bang for your buck, this is probably not going to be it. The larger one, I have to contradict myself, the larger one feels a lot easier to choke down, even though it is even a bit more expensive than this. But I still feel like even the larger one is a bit overpriced. I remember when it came out and it was quite a bit less than it is now, and I understand we're dealing with some inflation across the board, right? Whenever I say that, I always trigger people who want to tell me what it really is. Let me tell you what it's really all about, man. Yeah, again, go ahead with the paragraph. I know that we're seeing that, kind of across the board, but what I'm trying to say here is $80 feels a bit high for this. Not like, oh my God, I'm offended. I need to my whole day is ruined by it. No, it's just a little bit high. In any case, cool knife. I think some people, it'll be really, really fun for a lot of people, or I'm sorry, for some people. Thanks again to Off Grid Knives for sending this in for me to take a look at. Please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on that Metal Complex logo right there and subscribe because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.